For some people, they can do it and not have these crazy effects. Some people will have effects. Some people get addicted. Some people, it's the same as anything else. So I'm not against it or for it either way. Like with alcohol, it's just I want people to tap into like, if you have a problem, pay attention to that. And just because weed's natural and it comes from a plant doesn't mean that it can't also be harmful, because we know that all kinds of drugs come from plants, or natural things, and they can still have a negative effect.
All of them. Alcohol.
Yeah.
Is
tobacco,
right.
Like it's coffee beans.
There's so many things. And I love that. I love that. It's like everything starts out as a plant, but even like weed now, it's not like a lot of it just grows like that. It's genetically modified. Just like, we talk about genetically modified food, but you'll smoke a genetically modified marijuana plant and just be like, well, it's natural, but it's not, because it doesn't just grow that way. Yeah. Somebody did science to make all these different strains of it and shit.
Yeah. So. What I thought was interesting when I went to rehab, I think there was a girl in there who was in there for weed, which I thought was interesting. I didn't know that was a thing. I also saw a guy who was in there for Adderall, which I thought was pretty cool too. So these things are starting to be taken more seriously, which is good. So my first time going, it was a lot. So I remember 2 years prior to actually going, I was talking to a friend, and my progression was starting to change. Alcohol was starting to take from me. I say take from me versus give to me, because most of my drinking, it was helping me be normal, but then it started to make me feel less normal. And I remember being to a friend, I think I need to just check myself into a rehab. This was 2 years before I actually went. But in my mind at the time, rehabs were only for rich people, right? Like what we saw on TV. It's only white people going to rehab. How can I even afford it? I don't have thousands and thousands of dollars to go to rehab. So it seemed so unreachable and unattainable that I was just never going to happen. And then there's also how do you even start the process? What do I just call? Who do I call?
Right.
Do I say, hey mom, I want to go to rehab? How do you even start that conversation with anyone? So I didn't go. So 2 years later, my drinking is getting worse. I have a job that I started, maybe I was there for a year or so before things got bad. I started that job drinking on the interview. I was a horrible employee. It was one of those things where I'm I'll get, I'm just going to drink this one more time, and then I'm going to, this weekend I'm going to get it together. It was years of that. I'm just going to do this and go hard, and then I'm going to stop after this. But that never happened. I didn't have the ability to stop. So anyway, I'm drinking on this job. I'm drinking, lunch breaks. It slowly got worse. First it was after work. Then it was lunch breaks. Then it was just making up breaks to go to the liquor store and drink. It was insane. And so it got to the point where I was drunk at a work event, and I was just a hot mess. It was insane that night. And I was around people at work. I was around new hires. I was around managers from other teams. It was crazy. And so the next day I go into work, and my boss is like, so we recommend that you go to rehab. And that was basically the conversation. I left, maybe I transitioned a couple things, and then I left because it was suggested, but it was if you don't go, you're probably going to lose your job. But what I appreciate is I had a job where, they have to uphold FMLA, the Family Medical Leave Act, which I had no idea that you could do that for mental health and addiction, right? If you have a job that offers that, you can take time off. I still got a paycheck. I didn't know any of this, but I was doing it because I didn't want to lose my job. And if this is what they say I have to do to not lose my job, I'm doing it. So anyway, I go home and I'm drinking, right? Like I said, I don't go to rehab. I don't go to rehab sober. So I drink all day, packing my bags. And then I finally go the next day. I basically, the HR person was like, yeah, I know a friend who just had success at Miramont. And they're like, give them a call. And I didn't have the mental capacity to be calling a whole bunch of places. So I'm like, okay, insurance, I'm calling you. Check out this spot, Miramont. They accept my insurance. And that was it. So I do remember on the drive there being finally, I'm getting this help. Because it had been 2 years since I realized that I'm having a problem. And so it was like, yeah, I'm finally getting this done. So I go there and, I'm first 2 weeks so excited. I'm like, this is going to be a fresh start for me. And I'm doing the things I'm supposed to do. But I remember there was this part in my brain that just like clicked differently. And it was like, I just stopped being open and I think it was the alcohol brain just creeping back in. It was like, I didn't really want to stop. Like I got my 2 weeks of, sober, not drinking. Now I'm ready to go. Right. And so I remember listening to the things that I could do differently. I remember there was this one nutrition, presentation and they were talking about things to eat in sobriety. And I was like, okay, so if I eat this stuff, then I'll be able to drink better. Like, that's just where it was. And it was just so weird because, like, the other thing that I experienced in rehab was it seemed like I was different than other people. Like, I remember having another patient be like, why are you here? You don't seem like you need to be here, right? Like, and a tech who worked there said that you don't seem like you need to be here.
I got that
and
a
that
lot
just
too.
plays with my brain, like, because alcohol doesn't have one face, addiction doesn't have one face, and that just played with my brain and made me like, oh, I don't need to be here, I must not have a problem. I don't look like I'm a drunk, I must not be a drunk, right? And so I think those thoughts, like, they were just seeping in on top of the fact that I still didn't really understand, where this addiction was going to take me. I didn't understand alcohol. I didn't really understand my body yet. This was just the beginning to multiple years of getting worse before I got better. And then when I left, it was crazy. The day I left, I was in the car with the cab driver, and this was another person of color, not black, but a person of color, and he was basically like, you don't need this stuff. All you need to do is just monitor your drinking even more. For someone who is like me, who's already battling these thoughts of like, I'm not this person, that was the last thing I needed to hear.
I'm
right?
sorry, did he pick you up from the rehab?
He picked me up from the rehab.
Sure.
Was like, why are you here? Oh, you don't need this stuff. You don't really. Yes. A 45-minute drive, basically, of him being like, I have a problem too, but all we got to do is just monitor it a little bit more. You can drink. And so I'm like, yeah, I can drink. And so what happens? I get home, I drop my bags down, I say hi to the dogs, and I walk to the bar. And that's pretty much how most of these rehab stays, the first few rehab stays, like, ended in me being like, okay, going to the, you know what I mean? I don't know, just insanity. That's the insanity of addiction. And like I said, just that first time was just the beginning of, it was just the introduction. Like, and I think in my mind too, I have a big ego. I'm better than other people. I didn't think this would be the beginning of 13 facilities,
yeah.
Right? I thought it was. And my mom, she told me how she was bragging to people. Who brags when your daughter's in rehab? But she was saying to people, yeah, my daughter's it's just gonna be one and done. Like, she's got this. No.
So